The classification of animals. Lesson 6, reptiles. Cold-blooded and warm-blooded animals. 5 groups of vertebrate animals. And you can remember the phrase, all my best friends represent vertebrates. This helps us remember the 5 groups. A for amphibians, N for mammals, B for birds, F for fish, R for reptiles, V for vertebrates. The 6th letter and word help us make this memory aid make sense and names the bigger group of the 5 animals belong to, which is vertebrate. Okay, so what is unique about amphibians? We know that they live in 2 different worlds during their lifetime. Look at these 2 cards, the salamander on the left and the lizard on the right. Make some observations about the characteristics of these 2 animals. How are they similar? And how are they different? Similarities might include forelegs, body shape, tails. Differences might include color, skin coloring, and the moisture of the skin. Do you remember whether or not salamanders and lizards belong to the same animal group? Hello, boys and girls. As you can see, Anaconda is our starting place for today's lesson. She is a green anaconda, one of the largest snakes in the world. When she unwinds, she is about as long as 6 of you, stretched head to toe across the room. She weighs about 500 pounds. That's more than about 8 of you put together. Anaconda belongs to a group of animals that shares a lot of the same characteristics as the amphibians you learned about last time. Who knows the name of the groups used by taxonomists to classify snakes? Yes, snakes are reptiles. Reptiles include crocodiles, alligators, lizards, turtles, and tortoises. But right now, I want you to focus on one reptile only, Anna. It's no secret that she has a very high opinion of herself. She was rather quite fond of telling me when I visited Peru. She thinks she is rather pretty, and I quite agree. In spite of her heavy body, Anna is a very good swimmer. Unlike some of her reptilian relatives, she is an aquatic snake, preferring swamps and rivers to land. Snakes often have a bad reputation. Some snakes are poisonous, releasing poisonous liquids called venom when they bite. Anna's teeth are actually quite small, and she is not venomous, so you need not worry about that. However, some people fear anacondas because they are members of a family of snakes called constrictors. Does anyone know what that means? Constrictors catch and kill their prey by coiling or wrapping around the prey to squeeze them very tightly. Anaconda's jaws open so wide they can swallow animals whole. Fish, caiman, even jaguars, and small deer. The anaconda's powerful muscles crush the bones of its prey as it constricts. Once swallowed, the anaconda slowly digests its meal. Uh-oh. Some of you look fearful. Don't worry, you're safe. Anacondas don't live where you live in North America. You'll find them far, far away on the continent of South America. That's where I met Anna. Anna was sure to tell me that, as far as she knows, there is no documented record of an anaconda ever killing a man, woman, or child. She and all the anacondas are nocturnal animals, and they hunt at night, eating frogs, toads, birds, fish, and turtles. She doesn't have to hunt very often, because one animal will satisfy her appetite for a long time. Well, that's a lot of information about Anna's characteristics, the ways by which scientists classify her as belonging to the animal class called reptiles or reptilia. Anna and other reptiles share some common characteristics with amphibians. Reptiles are all vertebrates because they all have backbones, and they are all cold-blooded because their internal temperatures change with their surroundings. Most reptiles can adjust their body temperatures by basking in the sun to stay warm, or by hiding under a rock to stay cool. Reptilia is Latin for reptiles, such as animalia is Latin for, just as animalia is Latin for animals. Just like amphibians, reptiles live on land and in water. However, these two groups do, of course, have their differences. Amphibians depend upon water to stay alive much more so than reptiles. Amphibians' thin, wet, slimy skin needs moisture to absorb oxygen from the air, but reptiles' skin is waterproof. Unlike toads and salamanders, Anna and other reptiles do not breathe through their skin, which is hard, dry, scaly. They use only their lungs to breathe air, which means they are able to withstand very harsh, dry weather conditions under which amphibians would not be able to survive. Of course, because they have lungs, this also means that reptiles cannot stay underwater very long without coming to the surface to breathe. Amphibians usually spend part of their lives entirely in water, but this is not true of reptiles as a group. Whereas amphibians begin life with gills, reptiles are born with lungs and are never dependent upon gills for breathing. Remember how different baby tadpoles look from adult toads? This is not the case for reptiles. Baby reptiles usually look a lot like their parents. They do not undergo metamorphosis the way amphibians do. In the last read aloud, we talked about the way certain animals like tadpoles morph as they grow older. Let's all say the word together. Raise your hand when you hear the syllable morph. Metamorphosis. Now, who can tell me what that means? Let's take a look at some animals that belong to the animal group classified as reptiles. These include lizards, geckos, iguanas, and chameleons. Unlike snakes, most lizards have 4 legs. Chameleons have a keen sense of sight and a very long red tongue. Their brilliant colors, all shades of pink, blue, red, orange, turquoise, and green, help them camouflage when they come face to face with their enemies. Earth's largest living lizard is the Komodo dragon. It can grow to be 10 feet long and weigh as much as 150 pounds. These giant island carnivores eat animals such as large goats, pigs, and deer. Saltwater crocodiles are the largest reptiles on Earth, some weighing up to 1 ton. Looking like very large lizards, crocodiles make their homes in tropical climates and often seen floating like logs in the water, with only their nostrils, eyes, and ears showing. Like Anna, they are nocturnal hunters, hunting at night. Crocodiles have the most powerful bite in the entire animal kingdom. They are fierce hunters, living off fish and small mammals. Some live to be more than 100 years old. Alligators resemble crocodiles, but are usually less aggressive or boldly forceful, and live in freshwater habitats. Can you tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile? Alligators usually have wide, rounded, U-shaped snouts, and crocodiles tend to have longer, more pointed, V-shaped noses. Look at all of those reptiles side by side. Chameleons, Komodo dragons, crocodiles, and alligators. What do you notice about their skin? Is it rough or smooth? Does it look thick or thin? Remember when I mentioned that reptile skin is waterproof and that it is hard, thick, and scaly? Their type of scaly skin protects them from overheating. Because their skin is waterproof, it keeps water inside their bodies. Because reptile skin is very sensitive to, or easily affected by temperature, it becomes hot or cold very quickly when exposed to sun or shade. Like many amphibians, some reptiles shed their skin. Many lizards and snakes shed their skin several times a year as they grow. Snakes do not eat their shed skin that way amphibians do. Those turtles, you see the sea turtle and the different ways their feet look. Turtles and tortoises are the only reptiles with bony shells as part of their skeletons. Their backbones are actually fused to their shells. These shells may be flat or domed. Turtles have softer shells so they can swim faster, but land-dwelling tortoises need hard, leathery shells to protect them from predators. Their legs vary in appearance depending upon where they live as well. Sea turtles have oar-shaped flippers for moving through water effectively. Many turtles have claws, which help them dig, and pond turtles also have webs between their claws to effectively maneuver or move through water. Land tortoises, like the giant Galapagos, have huge column-shaped legs with claws. These claws help them dig into the ground and move across it. Some turtle species live for more than a century. That's a very long time indeed. Body coverings are an important difference between amphibians and reptiles. Another thing that sets the two groups apart is their eggs. Remember the slide that showed strands of thousands of soft eggs that Tabitha Toad laid in the pond? Most reptiles lay far fewer eggs. They lay their eggs in nests on land. Membranes, softer outer coverings that provide protection and also help hold the necessary water for eggs to grow, usually coat the inside of the reptilian eggs. In most reptile species, the eggs are often covered in leathery calcified shells. A few snakes and lizards give birth to fully formed live young instead of laying eggs. The garter snake, a snake that is right here in North America, is one of the exceptions to this rule. So is the Solomon Islands skink, a lizard whose habitat is near the continent of Australia. Like amphibians, reptiles live all over the world. They prefer hot, low areas like rainforests, prairies, deserts, and oceans. But they can be found everywhere except near the South Pole. Way too cold. You may have learned about different ologists in previous years. Geologists, paleontologists, archaeologists. Knowing the ology means an area of study, and herpeton means crawling animal. Who can tell me what a herpetologist is? If you are fascinated with reptiles and amphibians, if you are as fascinated as I am with reptiles and amphibians, you may want to think about becoming a herpetologist. Yes, indeed, herpetologist is the name given to a scientist who specializes in herpetology, the study of certain crawling animals, specifically reptiles and amphibians, with more than 5,600 species of lizards alone. That should keep you busy for a lifetime. You have seen and learned a lot about fish, amphibians, and reptiles, but there are still two major groups of vertebrates for you to learn more about. Who remembers what they are? Yes, birds and mammals. Next time I'll be back to tell you all about Ebenezer egret. Get ready to feast your eyes on a stunning variety of Ebenezer's feathered friends. Bye-bye for now. Okay, so here's some questions to answer. What are characteristics of a lizard that classify it as a reptile? The young are born looking like their parents. They have hard, thick, scaled skin. They lay eggs on nests on land and breathe through their lungs. Now, how is this different from a salamander, which is an amphibian? Salamanders are born as tadpoles, are amphibians that first breathe through gills and then later through lungs and skin. And they have moist, slimy skin and lay eggs in water. What kind of reptile is Anna? Anaconda. When did Rattenborough mean, what did he mean, when he was told that anacondas are not venomous? They are not poisonous. They do not have any venom. Venom is when somebody bites you, or something bites you, and it goes into your skin. Okay, that's what venomous is. All right. Yeah. In the read aloud today, you learned that reptiles have hard, scaly skin. How is this waterproof, scaly skin helpful to reptiles? It keeps water in and keeps from overheating and protects them. You also learned that reptile skin is sensitive. Explain what sensitive means and why it's especially important for a cold-blooded animal to have scaly, sensitive skin. Sensitive means able to feel something quickly or intensely. It's important because reptiles, which are cold-blooded, depend on their skin for regulating body temperature. Which two classes are the only ones in the entire group known of reptiles who have calcified domed shells? Turtles and tortoises. Describe the part of the pond turtle's body that helps it move through water effectively. Webbing between the claws. Compare and contrast the body design of a pond turtle to that of a fish. In the read aloud, you heard that reptiles lay eggs in nests. Why is the membrane of the egg so important? It provides protection and holds the necessary water. Okay. Compare and contrast the crocodile and alligator. Both reptiles, both have hard, scaly skin. Alligators prefer fresh water and a wide, rounded U-shaped snout. Crocodiles prefer saltwater and tend to be longer, have longer V-shaped noses. Okay, good. All right. One known fact about crocodiles. Crocodile has a much more powerful bite than all the animals in the animal kingdom. Thanks. These? Okay. Here's a question for you to ask your partner. And when we get a few minutes to answer, we'll share and discuss. Asking questions after a read aloud is one way to see how much everyone has learned. Think of a question you can ask for your neighbors. Ask your neighbors about reptiles. It starts with the word what. For example, you could ask, what is one characteristic of reptiles? Turn to your neighbor and ask your what question. Your neighbor will listen very carefully and write your question on an index card. Then your neighbor will read your question back to you. Listen carefully to make sure your question was written just as you meant for it to be asked. Then your neighbor will ask a new what question, and you'll get a chance to respond. And I'll call on several of you to share. Okay. Here's a word work, vocabulary word, effectively. You heard the read aloud say, sea turtles have oar-shaped flippers. I need to respell that. Flippers for moving through water effectively. Say the word effectively. When something is accomplished effectively, it means well done with purpose to succeed. So you can practice that in a sentence. And here are some choices for follow-up. You can answer the questions on your own. They will vary for all of them. Can you drive a car effectively? Can you effectively draw a picture with markers? You can say, I don't think so, or I do think so. Either way, you're using the word effectively. Okay? Awesome. And here's where you're going to put the animal that we talked about today, which was reptiles, and all the classification attributes of such. Thank you for the lesson. I'll see you in the next one.